Today, we're going to step into the world of Webpack. Oh, and hey, I'd like to mention this video's sponsor, Skillshare.com. Now, it's a brand new year here in 2019, and Skillshare will help keep you learning and thriving as they offer 25,000 different classes in coding, design, business, and more. For instance, you're about to watch my video on Webpack, but you could watch this full JavaScript course at Skillshare. Skillshare is also super affordable with a subscription that only costs $10 a month, but if you're one of the first 500 of my subscribers to click the link below here in the description, you get the first 2 months free, so take advantage. Hey everyone, what's up? Gary Simon, of course, Satcher.com. So today we're stepping into the world of bundlers once again, as we did last week when we covered Parcel JS. And this time I'm going to be covering something that's obviously much more popular for the time being, and that is Webpack 4. All right, so for those of you who don't know what a bundler is, basically it provides you with transpiling with Babel, which is basically writing modern JavaScript in a way that most browsers can understand. Also tree shaking, which is the elimination of dead code, minification, asset management, and much, much more. All right, so for those of you who did follow the Parcel tutorial from last week, I'm going to be using the same project setup, except we're just going to use Webpack 4 instead. And you're going to see quite a bit of differences in this. I'm not going to really give my opinion, but I would definitely highly suggest checking out my Parcel tutorial as well as this one, and then you can make your own determinations based on it. So for today's, it's not a question today. Today's challenge. The first person who can guess what model my new guitar is over here will get their comment pinned. All right, very exciting stuff. Let's get started. All right, so I'm here in my console emulator called Commander, cmder.net. You can get it for free for Windows, and I'm in my code folder, so we're going to create a empty project folder. I'm just going to call it Webpack tut for tutorial, and we'll cd into it as well. All right, so then we're going to run npm init-y, which will create an empty package.json file to store our dependencies. All right, so now we're going to install both Webpack and the Webpack command line interface. So npm i-d to save it as a dev dependency, and webpack-cli. All right, and of course that finished a lot quicker than I thought it would. Okay, so now at this point we're going to hit code period, and you can do that, by the way, if you have Visual Studio Code installed. It's opening up on my other monitor, of course, and I'm going to close out of there. And now we have our package.json file here, empty, not much happening. All right, so what we're going to do is go to that package.json file, and we're going to edit the tests here, or the scripts object, and we're going to get rid of this test one, and we're just going to rename it to build. And we're going to say Webpack. That's it. So this would be the same thing as just going to our terminal. So if I go to view terminal and I typed in just Webpack, this is going to allow us to instead run npm run build. And we're going to run it just for the fun of it, but knowing that it's going to fail. So we have our error, and the error is can't resolve source, the source folder. All right, so there's no source folder in here. And for the Webpack 4 0 configuration, it's going to look by default for a source folder. And it also needs an index.js file. There we go. So now if we rerun that command, hit up arrow on your keyboard, we'll see we're not going to get an error. All right, so we see now that we have this distribution or dist folder with a main.js file, which is just taking whatever is in here and then transpiling it here over in main.js. Okay, so obviously at this point, there's nothing in our index.js file, so let's go ahead and add just a little bit of code. And the Parcel tutorial that I did last week, I'm going to use the same code for this, basically, and it's the dumbest crap you're ever going to see in your entire life. So I'm going to create a bro.js. Oops, not there. There we go, a bro.js right there. And then inside of that, we're just going to say, we're going to create a function, const bro equals, it's going to take a greeting, And inside of it, we'll just say we're going to return, and we're going to use backticks, and we're going to use our interpolation greeting here, bro. So that's our function. It's just going to take the greeting string and then just put a comma and bro at the end. All right. So export bro. There we go. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to import bro from bro. There we go. It's grayed out because we're not using it. So let's actually use it. Console log bro. And then we'll just say dude. So stupid. Okay, so we'll save that. And what we want to do before even trying to run this, because we need an index.html file essentially. So let's create an index.html file. All right, right there. Okay, and what we'll do is we're going to get some basic scaffolding here. So exclamation point enter, and we're going to save this. And if we, let's put a script, you don't necessarily have to follow this part of the tutorial, but I just want to demonstrate something real quick. So if we take our script tag here and we link our index.js file right there, and we save it, and then I'm going to hop in to our source folder, and then I'm going to run http server-o to open up our server. So again, the page is blank because we have no HTML elements on it. But if we go to the console, we'll see uncaught syntax error, unexpected token. We click on that. Of course, it doesn't understand this syntax here. So what we can do, run npm run build, and it's going to work, but not in the way we think it is. It's not going to remedy our situation. We could still see if we refresh this after running this command, despite having created an index.html, the dist folder still just creates the JS file. And unfortunately, when it comes to the Webpack 4.0 configuration, it doesn't really recognize the HTML. So we have to, at this point, create a configuration file. So we go from 0 configuration to some configuration. So we're going to create, not an index, what am I doing? A webpack.config.js file in the project root. And before we mess around this, we have to install a couple things. And that will just be an HTML Webpack plugin and an HTML loader package with npm. So npm i-d is a dev dependency, HTML Webpack plugin, and HTML loader. And there we go. And so once this installs these two things, then I'm going to paste in just a bit of setup here so I don't have to hand type everything, because there's a fair amount of things that we have to write for code. So the first one is we're creating a const of HTML Webpack plugin, and we're requiring the package that we just installed, which is the HTML Webpack plugin. Control B to get rid of that sidebar. And then we're going to have our module exports. All right. So I'll just define this initial bit here. All right. It's one big object. So we're going to have a module object as well, along with a roles array. All right. So the first role that we want to define, which is, again, it's all an object, is going to be for this HTML loader. All right. So that looks like this right here. So the way these roles work is basically we have this roles array with an object, and we have a test, which this is used to find, it's regex, regular expressions, to help you find all the HTML files. And then it says we'll use this loader, and then you could pass in these options. They're all optional, obviously. And I think there's like 7 or 8 for the HTML loader based on various things you may want to do. And then outside of that, we have one last step, and that's to use this HTML Webpack plugin. And so right here, we have all of our plugins inside of an array. And so the first one that we're going to issue is right here. All right, so it's our Webpack plugin. The template defines the location of our index file right here, index.html. And then the output is defined for the distribution folder. So if we save this now and then run npm run build, we will see, if I didn't screw anything up, our index.html file So it now works. So we can see the fact that it was minimized up here already. And we could see also our source. Yeah, we can see we have two script sources right here from main.js and also index.js. So we can go back here and remove this one if you followed along on that part. Because it will automatically insert the JavaScript file for us, so we don't have to actually add it here at all. All right, so now let's install the Webpack dev server. So first, again, another package to install, npm-d. It's the Webpack dev server. All right, and fortunately, we don't have to add any configuration with this, but we do have to step into our package JSON file, and we're going to add start-dev, you can call whatever you want, and then Webpack dev server. And we'll run npm run start dev. And it'll load in a second, and now we could see it's up there. Let's come right there. Control left click, bring it over, Control Shift I, and we got our dude bro working. All right, so of course we have live server reloading with this. So what we can do is live reloading rather. What we can do is come here, and I'll change that from dude to sup, and there we go. It's working as expected. Okay, so now, unlike Parcel, if you want Babel, then you have to add that as well. So we have to go through the process of installing it with npm and also adding it to our Webpack config JSON file. All right, so let's go ahead and do that real quickly. So npm-d, and again, these are mainly all development dependencies. We're going to do @babel-core, babel-loader, @babel /preset env, and that'll looks good. And then we're going to hop back real quickly into our webpack config.json file, and for that we're just going to add a simple rule. All right, we'll add it above here. So all that is this object right here. All right, so this is basically finding any JavaScript file. We're excluding node modules, of course, and the loader is Babel loader. All right, so now that Babel transpiling is now ready to rock and roll, so that you can write your future JavaScript and it will be compiled down so that other browsers can understand it. So now let's also talk about assets. Let's go to our index.html and let's add in an image tag. And I'm going to bring in the same graphic that I did before in the Parcel, which is a mountain graphic. All right, so you can see I have my image and our mountain.jpg right here. So let's go to our index, and we're just going to put in our image tag here, and we'll do source equals images and our mountain.jpg right there. Okay, and now at this point, if we went to run npm run build, for instance, it would not be able to find this asset. So once again, we have to install yet another thing through npm, which is npm-i-d for dev dependency once again, and that will be file-loader. All right, so at that point, now we have to add another role to our Webpack config file to target any sort of graphics or other asset files that we want to include. So for that role, once again, I will just paste that in. It's fairly simple. And I'll just put this right after this one. And that is finding any PNGs or SVGs or JPEGs or GIFs. There we go. That's all we have to do for that. So now we can run npm run dev, or build rather. And at this point, we should see another file that's going to show up here. And there it is. That's our graphic file right there. So in our index.html file, we can see the source is noted as being that file right there. All right, so let's see if we can add Sass support now. You can do just straight up CSS, but I'm not going to mess with that. Most people on, even small projects are still utilizing Sass at this point. So for Sass, we have a fair amount of other packages that we need to install. So npm i-d node Sass. Let me get rid of the sidebar. All right, so node Sass. We also have style-loader. We also have CSS-loader, Sass-loader, and then the mini CSS extract plugin. Whew, yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that you have to install. So while that's going, we have to go back to our Webpack config JSON. Well, before we do that, let's create the actual files that we want to deal with for the Sass. So I'm going to create a styles folder in our source, and we'll create a main.sass file. All right, so inside of our main.sass file, let's just create a variable, like background we'll say is blue, and then our body background is BG. Okay, that way we'll know for sure that it is actually working. All right, so what we want to do in order to import this, instead of just adding it to our index.html, we can go to our index.js and we can import it that way. So we can say import up here. No, we don't want array brackets. We just want the path of our main.sass file. All right, so we save this. Then we can come back to our Webpack config file, and then we have to add a role and also our plugin. So this is our role right here. We're going to find our Sass files, and we're going to run these three things in this particular order: our Sass loader, CSS loader, and style loader. So then at the top, we're going to create another constant for our mini CSS extract plugin that we installed. And this is such a mouthful. Mini CSS extract plugin, and then we're going to use it down here for a second plugin. And this is the last bit of work that we have to do, fortunately. So, all right, so let's go ahead and save that and run npm run. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention something I forgot to mention. You could have done away without having this plugin right here. It doesn't even rely on it if you were running the start dev command. So when you're using the live server, it would still work without having this plugin. But what this plugin does is it will make it so that when you run you build out your production build, which is what we've been doing by default, by the way, in our package.json file. You can also specify a mode of development. What it will do when you run your production build command, it will make sure the Sass and the CSS is actually compiled here. Otherwise, it will not. So you definitely need that plugin added. So npm run build. And just to show you that it will work for sure, again, it doesn't create an actual separate CSS file here at all. It's actually, the contents are here inside of our main.js. So if I do a search, Control F for, what was it, blue? We can see it right there. Background is blue. Okay, so also just to show you that, that does work is cd-dist http server -o. And why is our background? Oh, I think it is. There it goes. I had to refresh. I was like, what is going on? So yeah, there's our sub row. All of that stuff is working just fine and dandy now. And also, just to show you that the dev server works as well with Sass reloading, we'll have npm run start dev and give it a second. Let's open this up. So now if I just move this over for a second and we go to our, where is it at? Our Sass file, we change this to red, save. And there we go. Now you have your your development environment set up to run with Webpack 4. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Definitely check out the Parcel.js tutorial where I take the same project structure with that really stupid function and I make it work with the Parcel bundler. And you're just going to see that if you use Parcel for this, the same, achieving the same thing that we did with Webpack 4, it's about 1,000 times easier. So definitely check that out. Also, for today's challenge, the first person who can guess what my new guitar back there is, the model, gets their comment pinned. Very exciting stuff, as I mentioned. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet and click the bell notification icon. All right, see you soon.